Hey everyone, thanks for joining us again for this week's episode of On the Spot. Amanda sits down with director Jordan Phillips and lead Justin Giesbrecht for the new play that will be happening at the Fringe Festival called One Piece Missing. I also sit down with Paul Titley, another lead role from Regrets, I've Had a Few, which again will be at the Fringe Festival this weekend. So make sure you stay tuned for On the Spot. I'm here with director Jordan Phillips and lead Justin Giesbrecht of this year's Winnipeg Fringe Festival play, One Piece Missing. So gentlemen, with Fringe less than a week away, how are we feeling?
Well, feeling a little bit nervous, to be honest. Tech rehearsal is coming up tomorrow, so that's kind of the last big thing that could make or break us to some extent before we get to performance. So I will feel a lot more relaxed once that is out of the way.
I typically only start getting nervous opening day. So at the moment, I'm getting amped up, but I feel that the nerves will be coming soon. So let's just see how it all goes with tech rehearsal. Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully it all goes smooth, and I will know how I feel more accurately after that point.
So then what inspired you guys to come together to create Sheep on a Mission Productions?
Well, Sheep on a Mission was kind of a dream of mine going back when I decided that theater was the thing that I actually wanted to pursue career-wise, because I noticed that there was kind of a lack of the theater that I typically enjoy amongst a lot of companies. There's a lot of emphasis on spectacle in a lot of places, which is all well and good, but I don't like it when there's so much emphasis on spectacle that it takes away from the truth of the performance. And then as well, I always really enjoyed plays that could reach a wide variety of audiences from different faiths, from different ages. I really liked the kind of stuff that, I don't know, that really got to the heart of who we are as people, as opposed to dividing who we are as people. And so I wanted to start a troupe that could make that kind of theater, and then Justin and I met up in 2012 when he was doing a dinner theater with a discipleship program he was with at the time, and then we got talking about acting, and then the next show that I was doing was kind of a Christmas themed show with the different joys and the different sorrows that we experience around that time of year. And Justin drove out from Altona for like every rehearsal for that show, and then that coming Fringe Festival, we decided we wanted to do something, and we've been at it ever since. Anything to add?
That pretty much covers everything. Yeah, it was your idea, you approached me, and I was sold on it. So yeah, we just committed.
Here you are.
Yeah.
I'm believing that you're in love with me.
Why must you do
Sorry?
that? The singing. Do you have to be singing?
Sorry, I guess I just must be super excited. Doc says I get to go home today.
Why are you still here?
Well, you see, my fiancée was planning on coming to visit today. So I figured, rather than let her know ahead of time, I would just lie here in bed and then surprise her with the good news, because let me tell you, she loves surprises.
Except for the time you got hit by a truck. I bet she wasn't too fond of that surprise.
Beautiful. So then, what made you write the story of Cold Winters?
That one is a bit of a darker tale, actually. I drew inspiration from a few different people in a few different situations that happened There was a friend of mine that she received a text one night, kind of, I think, late fall of this past year, like around October, November, from a friend of hers who was just kind of like looking for someone to talk to, and she started talking to him and found out that he had been diagnosed with lung cancer. And he was 29 years old. He was very, very healthy. He had never smoked before. He took very good care of his body. He was very athletic, very fit. And all of a sudden, he got hit with lung cancer that killed him in 3 months. And yeah, that was a very, very difficult thing for her to go through, as well as obviously for his family and the rest of his friends to go through. And just seeing that, I don't know, that just crushing occurrence of death was a thing that, I don't know, that I guess I wanted to honor in some way. And so a lot of the circumstances that are around Cole are drawn from my perception, my idea of what that might be like.
I always try and look in through the windows, but the shades are always drawn. Ha! It's probably some dirty old man sitting all alone.
I cannot believe you two. You're physically incapable of having a conversation without talking down about somebody, aren't you?
What's got your panties in a twist?
I'm dying. I was so excited because you were the first people I've had visit me, and I was looking forward to a conversation with a familiar face. But all you have to do is gossip? I mean, no offense, but I'd rather not spend my last days hearing about dirty old men and horny young ones.
Bro, you asked us how we were. We told you.
You barely told me anything about yourselves. Even the parts that meant the most to each of you, the other one told so you could put a spin on it. The only innocent piece of information I heard is that Jewel got a dog. I mean, don't you two have anything better to do with your lives than talk trash all day long?
I'm sorry. Do we have anything better to do with our lives? No offense, Cole, but you are in no position to judge how we live our lives. You're no shining example.
Yeah, I can see why you haven't had any visitors.
And then as I went through the writing of the play, there were different characters, different plot devices that came out that continued to open it up and turn it into something more than what I had originally planned. Because I started out just with the circumstance of Cole and who Tiana, his night nurse, ended up becoming to him. And then after that, the next thing to fall into place was the puzzle motif that goes throughout. And then the final piece, there was something that needed to happen in between a couple of points in order to drive it forward and rather aggressively. And that was where the character of death occurred.
How are we this evening?
Who are you?
Oh, come on, seriously? All the black, the dream, the dying. I'm Death. The Grim Reaper? The personification of your inevitable physical end? Talk about a thankless job. No recognition.
But why are you here?
No, see, that I thought would be pretty self-explanatory at this point.
But I'm not
Dead? No. Not yet. I'm trying something new.
Well, if I'm not dead yet, then get away from me.
See, this is exactly the point. Every time when I come to someone in the moment when they are dead, there's all this drama. It starts out with denial. People can't accept that they're dead. More than that, they can't accept that dead is a thing they can be. People prefer to think of death as a kind of unbeing. And eventually we come to the point of me starting to drag them away, and the denial gives way to anger. They start to fight, they swing, they scratch, they even bite. I find the whole ordeal rather wrinkling, and I hate being wrinkled.
So then can we talk about some of the trials and tribulations that the main character goes through throughout his performance?
Sure. Cole is someone who was brought up in a believing home, told that God is someone you should lean on and believe, but obviously, as a lot of people do when they have that information pushed down their throat, they start to doubt, and if it's pushed down with force, then they start to push back even more. So throughout his life he was pretty much living in spite of those things and not regarding God at all. So he was taking his life for granted. He had very superficial and shallow relationships. He didn't really get deep or vulnerable to his heart or what he's actually dealing with as a person. So instead of actually getting closer with people in his lives, people who he's actually closest to, he ends up pushing away the most. And he really realizes at that point when he's on his deathbed that he's got no one to turn to. And then all of a sudden, night nurse Tiana comes in and starts giving him a different perspective of God and something that he never actually had before, and actually challenges him in relationships and building the connections that he has lost. So yeah, she is pretty much the bridge for him from where he's at to where he is going at the end of the story.
Do you know why there's a piece missing from that puzzle? Every time I get a new puzzle, which is fairly often, I lay out all of the pieces and I pick one of them to put in this jar that I have. Then when I put it together, it reminds me. It reminds me that if I don't put myself into everything I do, into everyone I'm with, then there will always be one piece missing. When an old ex broke off our engagement, I bought a puzzle and I took out the ugliest piece. That reminded me that no matter how ugly or worthless I felt, if I retreated, then the proverbial puzzle of life wouldn't be as beautiful without me. When I graduated from nursing school, at the top of my class, I bought a puzzle and I took out the prettiest piece. That reminded me that if I put myself above others, then I miss out on being part of the whole puzzle. And when my father died, cancer, I took away a corner piece to remind me to stay present even after I'd lost my foundation. And when I had a miscarriage, I took away the centerpiece to remind me to keep living even after I'd lost my heart. So, I guess the point is, the missing piece is me. And it kind of sounds like that missing piece is you. Unless you put yourself in it, it'll never be complete.
So then you guys are showcasing a bit more of a heavy play than some of the other shows in Fringe. So what were some of the difficulties preparing for this show?
Well, for me, the difficulties preparing for the show was with the character of Cole. When I first saw what he was writing with the character, I realized actually a lot of Cole's character traits resemble my own. So it was actually quite personal for me to actually get to a vulnerable place, because it's hard to keep your faith alive. It's hard to connect with God, especially when you're dealing with a whole bunch of your own garbage. And yeah, I've never really been a social person in general, so making connections with people has usually been a difficult thing, but on good days it's obviously good. You can connect with people quite easily. Anyway. On worst days, obviously, I feel more like Cole does, and you just start pushing people away simply because you are either embarrassed or ashamed of what you're going through. You don't want to talk about it because being vulnerable is hard. And when you don't have that access to God as you're told you should, then it's even harder, especially when people are telling you that everything is better when you have God, but yet you don't feel the same way they do. So you don't quite see eye to eye. So getting in the headspace of Cole was challenging simply because it was getting into the headspace of myself, putting it on stage for everyone to see. So that was the hard part for me.
Pretty intimate?
Yeah, pretty intimate.
My point is, you're never going to beat me. You will never beat death. Don't deny it. Don't fight it. Just accept it. Just die.
And with this tragedy, what would you like the audience to take away from your performance?
I think the biggest thing that I would like people to take away is just for people to leave and to feel a need to go to those that they love, to reconcile any difficulties that they're having, to call up their parents that they haven't talked to in a few months, to realize that those relationships are the fabric of who we are, and to realize that too often we allow them to kind of fade into the background, and we don't give them the time and the effort that they deserve. And I'm hoping that this play will help all of us to see how important all of those relationships are to us, and that we won't take them for granted as much afterward. I would love to have someone leave and be like, I need to go and call my mother or something like that. That would be that I think would be the most resounding success for me, is if people leave the theater and they need to call their loved ones just to talk, just to connect.
So, how are Mom and Dad?
Oh, so you're acknowledging everyone's existence now, are you? If I recall our last conversation correctly, they're dead to you. How are you doing, darling? Healing up nicely?
I was just doing my best to be civil. No need to bite my head off.
Civil? Funny how civil can sound so much like sarcastic. Give up on the niceties, Colby. They're not your strong suit. Oh, and no need to bite your head off? My older brother, my hero, one of the people I look to for protection, wisdom, and guidance just up and leaves, and there's no need to bite
So
his
then
head off.
are either of you performing in any other plays this year?
Yes, I am. I'm performing in The World of the Brothers Grimm with Merlin Productions at Kids Fringe this year. It's a show that I did with them back in November, December at the Forrest Nickerson Theatre, and it's been a couple of, I think 2012 was the last time that they performed that show at Fringe, where I think it sold out 4 of its 8 performances.
Yes.
And so then they wanted to remount that in the Fringe setting and try to bring some people in for that. And that is a much more lighthearted show. It is geared towards children that are 3 years old and over.
Yes.
And so that one will be a lot of fun. I am playing a number of puppets in that one, and yeah, no, that one will be a good time.
That's very exciting. Well, there you have it, folks. We hope to see you at this year's Winnipeg Fringe Festival performance of One Piece Missing at the Asper Theatre Centre, July 13th to July 22nd.
My name is Gork. I'm 92 years old, and I'm dying. How do you think you're gonna die? Old age, right? I bet 99% of you think old age when you're 95 or something. Actually, that's not true. Half of you don't even think about it or want to think about it. Well, I made it to old age. Good luck to all of you.
I'm here with Paul Titley from the play Regrets, I've Had a Few. They will be performing this weekend starting Thursday at the Fringe Festival. I want to go right into, has anyone told you that you actually sound like Ray Romano?
Yes, I've had a few people tell me that. It's just a side effect of when I speak in a relaxed tone.
It sounds a lot like, if I close my eyes right now, you sound a lot like Ray. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm sitting here with Ray, everyone. So going into the play, what is the main theme of this play that you're in?
Well, the characters that are in the play, most of them are in a flashback sequence because the main character of the play is actually an older version of my character. He speaks largely about his life and his experiences, and he does ramble a lot, but he largely recollects about a scene of when he broke up with his longtime girlfriend because she wanted to move to Paris and he wanted to stay there. So if I had to summarize it into one word, I would say recollection.
Gorky. You're not coming.
I can't.
You're breaking up with me? You can't be. You'll come. I know you will.
Denial.
I wish I could, Beth, but I can't.
You can't. You can't. You can't. Be a man, you coward. Oh.
Beth? We can still write.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Sport!
Anger.
Beth. Beth. Beth!
You know what, Gork? All my life, people have told me that I can't do things just because I'm a girl. And I said to them, fuck you, I'm doing it anyway. And now, you won't come to Paris with me. Because you don't want to be with a woman who's more successful than you, is that it? You bastard!
To you personally, what do you do about stage fright and being in front of that giant audience and people in front of you and, you know, not forgetting anything?
Well, the audience alone, they could be a source of energy, so they don't frighten me. It's more so if I personally screw up. If I forget a line or there's maybe an action that I was supposed to do on play and it doesn't occur, suddenly there's a moment of silence. That's probably the worst thing, in my opinion, to happen, is a moment of silence when you know that someone is supposed to be talking and then everybody on stage is rushing through their head like, is this my line? Which line is supposed to be? So when you forget a line, the best thing you can really do is hopefully remember what the scene is trying to accomplish, and then from there you can kind of paraphrase your way through, much to the writer's dismay, I would imagine. But if you're able to at least get the thorough action of what the actors are supposed to be doing with one another, and hopefully not accidentally do a scene much further into the play, then yeah, hopefully you can get through it.
Oh, wow. And as long as you have a good group around you, they'll be able to push you along and help you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as long as everybody has thoroughly rehearsed and you're all collectively in it, if you can all improvise your way through it, then the audience won't know a thing. It's much like music. If somebody plays a wrong note, the person playing is going to realize, but to the audience, as long as they kept playing, they're going to not realize that it ever happened.
True. Very true. Get into the character, like for this play, for example? Take us through the steps to get into the character.
Well, the play is largely a snippet of time in the characters that you play, their lives. So what I do is I try to see if, with that window of time that I get to see the characters and how they're written down, from there I can hopefully kind of choreograph an idea of who that character is, and then largely try to write a backstory for the character, so to kind of understand why they would make those choices that they do in the play. I also, in this play, have the advantage of having an older version of my character right in front of me, and I'm able to learn from his mannerisms and him telling me the reasons why he did his choices. So I lucked out in this play. Largely, a lot of actors are kind of left in the dark, and they have to make those choices for themselves. But in this instance, I have an older version of myself to watch and to learn from as to the reasons why he did, and that can help me with my motivations as to make all the wrong choices that he says he does.
With the older version of yourself, though, did you have to spend any amount of extra time, like learning how they walked, learning how they talked, or any kind of thing like that?
It largely came from a keen eye of just stalking them while they're doing, maybe stalking is the wrong word, observing them while they're doing their scenes in the play. I benefited from the fact that the actor who's playing the older version of myself is actually the father of one of my friends. And so I've known him from some time before I actually did this play. So I had a lot of his mannerisms locked in because he's a unique guy. But all the additional ones that he put on for his character, like there's a lot of body language that he does that he doesn't normally, but I watch that and I try to custom that into how I play my character. They're the most boring people you've ever met. They're very intellectual, very superior.
Oh, her guy friends.
She doesn't have any girlfriends, at least not serious ones anyways.
So go to Paris, get away from her friends.
Are you kidding me? I bet the people that she meets in Paris are going to be 10 times worse. You know what artists are like, phoniest people alive.
Why are you so scared? You're coming up with any excuse you can think of not to go.
No, I'm not.
Sure you are. You're suffering from pantophobia.
From what?
A dread of the unknown. You're anxious and apprehensive. You've got to get in touch with your feelings.
If I was interested in being a part of a play for the Fringe Festival, where would I go to get into something like this?
Well, there's a lot of different avenues you can do in terms of if you're wanting to be an actor, if it's your first time, keep an ear to the ground. Facebook is a great way to get started. I know there's a group, the Winnipeg Actors Collective. They largely put out a lot of audition notices for indie films and plays that go on. So Fringe Fest, it's just completely booming. If you're wanting to be a writer for a play or even a director, get some friends together and try to see if you can write one up. Then you submit it to the lottery. And if you're one of the lucky few who gets picked for the Winnipeg Fringe lottery, then you have the opportunity to put your show on. I know there's venues that are provided, and there's also venues that you can provide yourself. So whether or not you have a stage, you don't have to worry about that because someone will cover you in that regard. And even if you want to help out with the Fringe itself, I know they also welcome volunteers as well.
Sweet. That sounds awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Where can our viewers go to watch your play?
Our play specifically is located at Venue 10, which is the School of Contemporary Dancers. If you wanted to purchase tickets ahead of time, you can do so from the Winnipeg Fringe Festival. Or if you want to try your luck, you can also purchase tickets at the Rush Line. And if you want to learn about the other shows, that's also available at the website as well.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I'm super excited to watch this play.
Thank you very much.
I was one of the few that made it back to England after that attempted invasion. I got shot just as I stepped off the boat. Boy, was I a waste of money for the army. They fed me, clothed me, sheltered me, and paid me for months while I trained. And then, in my first taste of battle, I lasted about 20 seconds. At least I lived. Not a lot of us lived that day. War is weird. Not that I'm a great expert or anything. I just lay on the beach getting shot at for a couple of hours. We had fun before the invasion. Young bucks running around England in uniforms. I'd never been off the prairies before.
I want to thank all of you for tuning in again for this week's episode of On the Spot. So next week, I have some exciting news. Meme 2015 Hallelujah will be coming out. So make sure you stay tuned for our next week's episode. You can also get meme passes for this year, 2016, at Strange Things Emporium. And don't forget, dig the underground.